Let's talk about the Lions and the Bucs. Bucs coming off of a convincing win against the Eagles, man. Another day, another time, we're going to have to kind of break down what happened to the Eagles because that was one of the biggest just fall. They're going to have to completely break open this team and just figure out what the hell went wrong. But on the flip side, we're talking about the Bucs. The Bucs capitalized on that. They capitalized on a historically bad Eagles passing defense. Baker Mayfield looked great. Again, just kind of proving everybody wrong. He's coming out here and dealing. He's certainly got the receiving core to make explosive plays. And then the Lions, what a story. What a story. They're hosting their second playoff game for the first time ever in Detroit Lions history. Jared Goff, Dan Campbell, all of them. That's an easy story to root for as well. So storylines behind this game are going to be fun nonetheless. Bucs are +6 road underdogs. Point total sitting at 48.5. That's the second highest total on the slate. Our projection has the Lions 25-22. So it more has this game as a 3-point spread rather than a 6-point spread. But we'll dive in and see how much I believe that. I do think there will be points scored, though. One thing I wanted to note, Bucs are 27th overall in explosive play rate allowed. Lions are 25th overall in explosive play rate allowed. And I think both teams are going to really, really open up the playbook against each other and take advantage. So
Yeah.
before I get into any more of it, Brendan, what do you think about this line? What do you think? Who do you think is going to win? How do you think they're going to win? Let me know.
You just talked about the Lions being pretty bad in the explosive play allowed. Most of their secondary have been hurt like all season, so I think that kind of plays into it. They're back healthy now. Brian Branch is playing great. C.J. Gardner-Johnson's back, and gosh, that was such a good game last week,
dude. It was what a game, best game on the slate.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Lions fans are nuts, and up there in Ford Field hosting, it's going to be an incredible atmosphere, and I think we have to more talk about the Bucs here than we do the Lions, because the Bucs, sure, they just destroyed the Eagles, right? The Eagles had an entire second half of the season collapse, and they're not the same team as they were last year, like at all, like a completely different team. And someone that hasn't watched all season, if they would have seen that score, they'd be like, oh my God, like Baker Mayfield's probably like awesome, and like the Bucs are actually have a good chance against the Lions. No, I don't think so at all. I think the Lions are going to be able to run the ball. I think the Lions are going to be able to pass the ball and the pass funnel that the Bucs have, and I think that they're going to be able to score at will at home, inside. Goff's better at home. I think they're going to be able to score at will, and I think that they cover the 6.5. I'm not saying the Bucs aren't going to put up a little bit of a fight, but I don't think it's going to be real close here. As far as how the game seems, like maybe they only win by 7, but I think that they're at least going to cover that, and it's not going to feel like a close game.
Okay. Yeah, no, I see what you're coming from. And again, we talk about this on every show, every time the Lions play at home. The home road splits for Jared Goff and the Lions are
crazy.
It's crazy. And if we talk about the Rams game, let's talk about, I think that game, the Lions would have won by a much larger margin if they weren't getting tossed by the refs on every single call. Yep. There were 2 specific calls that I remember that I was like, what is this? One of them being the offsides or the false start call on the Lions, but it was like pretty evident that it was not on the Lions. It's I don't know. I feel like there's the refs got something out for them. Something's weird. So in that instance, I think they could have beaten the Rams by a little more than what the actual score indicated. I think, even looking at some of the advanced metrics, the EPA margin was pretty significant after that game in favor of the Lions. I do think the Bucs will be able to keep up, and I don't think this will be any more than a 2-possession game. I think it can be. The avenue to that happening is all of the Lions' weapons are healthy, and they come out here and just play super aggressive. I think the key the thing for the Lions is their offensive line is second to none. Especially that right side led by Penei Sewell. They're dogs. All of them are dogs. And I think they're certainly going to have a lot more success holding up the Bucs pressure than the Eagles did the other night. I mean, my goodness, the Bucs pressured 60% of the time in the game against the Eagles, and they they had success on about 57% of those. I saw that was from like Fox Graphics or whatever, but that's crazy. That's one of the highest blitz rates that we've seen in a playoff game this year. And that was one of the highest blitz success rates that we've seen this year. So I think the Bucs are going to stay aggressive, but the problem is that the Lions are going to be able to defend that. The Lions also have really good pass blockers in Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, in which the Eagles did not have. No running back was good at pass protection, whereas both running backs for the Lions are relatively decent at pass protection. So I think the Lions get the favor in terms of that. Looking at some of the more numbers, Detroit 24th in EPA per pass allowed, 8th overall in EPA per pass. Again, Bucs are 25th in EPA per pass allowed. Detroit is 8th in EPA per pass. So we talked about EPA per play, EPA per pass. I think both teams are going to open up the passing game and absolutely take advantage. That's kind of why I'm leaning on the over in this game. I think there's going to be points. I think there's going to be a lot of points. And I think both teams are going to come out aggressive and find success. But, to your point, Lions secondary is finally fully healthy. It felt like most of the year they were either down CJ Gardner-Johnson or Brian Branch. But everybody's healthy. Everybody's good. Depending on the status of Anzalone at linebacker, but it's hard for me not to favor the Lions here. I think the Bucs cover, especially, I actually took them at +7 on some books. I'm seeing this line kind of be driven up towards the Lions. In fact, 67% of the bets are on the Lions. 89% of the handle is on the Lions. So for me, taking it at +7 for the Bucs, because I think that it's very, very probabilistically likely that it's one possession or less.
Let me put it to you this way. I think that Ben Johnson's going to have a field day, their offensive coordinator. Just for reference, we talked about how bad Jared Goff's road home splits are. They played earlier in the season in October at Raymond James Stadium. That's what it's called, right? Yeah, Raymond James Stadium at the Bucs. The Lions won 20-6. Jared Goff had 353 passing yards.
Dang.
And that's probably his highest one of the whole year. It's just the pass funnel of this defense is ridiculous. I think Ben Johnson's going to create really good spacing with the receivers mixed in with the tight ends, and they're going to be able to run the ball. And so I don't think that they'll be able to be stopped on either side, and I think they'll cover this. That's just me. I know I just contradicted exactly what you said, but I just wanted to bring up the game from earlier in the season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's see, but using previous games, like, it's one of the best things we can do, but it's also one of the worst. And when we talked about, like, it's a clear representation of what has happened when these two teams met in the past. But then you look at, like, the Texans and the Browns game.
Yeah.
Look at all the injuries the Texans had. Now, it wasn't near the magnitude of what the Lions and the Bucs have been dealing with. They were more than less healthy at that time,
right,
give or take a few. But, it's a good point. And one thing the model takes into account is momentum. And so I think they see that with the Bucs. They've gained momentum. Their offense is in a better rhythm than it ever has been at any point in the year. Like, perfect time to get hot. Perfect time for Baker Mayfield and the Bucs to find that chemistry and get hot as we head into playoff season. And so the model does take into account momentum. And I think it saw a little Bucs momentum rising and a little bit of Lions momentum declining, like in the later games of the regular season. But I agree. I'm just rooting for points here. I am taking Bucs +7. I did take that just in case, because I do think it'll be one possession or less. But for the Lions, I think if the Bucs were to win, it's going to be coming down to the last minute, like a last minute field goal, or they win by 4, give or take. But if the Lions win, they can obviously win by one possession, but they're way more likely to win by 7 or more than the Bucs are, of course. We see that in the spread, and there's way more ways in which the Lions can be aggressive and attack this Bucs defense, this Bucs secondary to be specific, and really get ahead early. So
that was a really good thought on the past games, because we literally talked about that last week. So I just contradicted myself, because we were saying that it's hard to beat a team like that twice, because Flacco shredded the Texans in the regular season. So that's a good thought. So that decreases the validity to what I was saying. But
it's a dome game.
Yeah.
It's a dome game.
I think they'll do it. I think that Goff will do that again. Just an opinion.
All right, man. Hey, glad to have your beer back. What's crazy is that it seems for the playoffs, all logic goes out the window.